Welcome everybody back to Friar Talk. Going live after I don't know, man. It's been since mid-October. So we're going live after quite a while. Facial hair is probably looking different on me. Isaac, I feel like you're rocking the same look. I got the backwards hat. We're in the same rooms we were in last time. But before we get into anything, Padres related, I will say I'm excited to be back talking baseball with you guys. We're hopping on today, right? And it's been what, like 6 weeks, right? Like 6 weeks, I want to say.
Maybe even more, bro. But I don't
Yeah,
know. Yeah, like 6 weeks, 6 to 8 weeks.
yeah. So it's been a little bit. But obviously, last episode we recorded was not like after the Padres were winning in the series or anything like that. So I want to say that first. I feel like Isaac, I don't know if you saw the comments, but I logged back into YouTube today, like just because and also just to start, every year when the season ends, we take like a month off. Every single time we've done that. Like, so it's not like it's that long. It's more that we never ended on like what happened at the end of the season.
I don't want to talk about it. I
Yeah, I
still
know.
don't.
So that was the thing. Like we didn't really. Let me go back real quick. We start and I look at these comments today because I log in on YouTube, right? And I'm like, oh wow, people are talking a lot of shit, and I know Isaac hasn't seen this, so we're gonna get his raw reaction here. But a lot of comments of, oh, the Dodgers ended this channel, blah 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 blah. And like I said, we always take a break at the end of the year for like a month. This one was a little bit longer. The difference was in this one, the last episode we recorded was after Game 2, which is super exciting. We didn't record after Game 1. We didn't record after the Padres beat the Braves, and I think you guys could all tell like it was tough last year for us to record timeline wise. Like none of us were around at the same time. Hopefully, we'll be able to do some more stuff and we'll see like how schedules work out and everything. But it was tough to record. So we recorded like I think Game 1 of the Braves series, I want to say. Didn't do one after Game 2. We did one Game 2 of the Dodgers series, and then we had like a couple like quick videos in between of like breaking stuff down. And then we did like a predictions or something, but there wasn't really that much in the playoffs. However, we never recorded at the end of the season. And I see a lot of people saying, look, the Dodgers, they broke this channel. Look, we're back now, right? That's the first thing. And of course they wouldn't do something like that, right? Of course they wouldn't break the channel, but I'm not gonna lie, they kind of did because we were like, yo,
They broke me.
we don't want to talk about it right now. So it's been a while to digest it. But I'm gonna be honest, dude. Before you kind of give your reaction, what were we supposed to talk about? Like we always talk about, okay, here's the matchups, here's this, here's that. The season ended in the most catastrophic way possible. You don't score for 24 innings and you just look dead. Like what were we supposed to come in here and talk about? Oh, man, the only thing we could have said is like, hey, Darvish is awesome. It was like, okay, yeah, they shit the bed. Like, what else is there to say? So I didn't want to go on here and talk about it. None of us did. We didn't even really chat about it. And then Chase texted. He's not here today. He's working tonight. But he texted like 2 weeks later, like, yo, guys, I think we got to record or something. Nothing in the chat. And then he recorded, and then he texted like the next, like, oh man, like it's rough or something like that, and it was pretty funny. But we're recording later on, and it was a brutal way to end the season. I mean, this series was good. It would have been much more exciting if like there was some back and forth in those last two games, but it was a really good series. Definitely one of the best series of the whole season, of the whole postseason. The Yankees and the Mets series were snoozes, man. Like, I don't know. It was brutal, man, and that's why we didn't record. All right, that's my thing I'll say. So I'll let Isaac hop in a little bit, but it was like, what's the point, bro? What are we going to talk about? The fact they didn't get hits that everyone saw? Like we all saw it. We all saw what happened.
Yeah. Well, here we go, huh? I'm about to talk about this for the first time in 6 to 8 weeks. I haven't talked to you guys yet about it. I've talked to my dad about it. I've talked to some of my friends about it. Now, what's funny is that my obligation is to this channel, so I probably should have talked about it to you guys, one of the first, to be one of the first people, but I didn't because I really didn't want to. I didn't want to go on live and, express my frustrations. And right now, talking about it makes me mad. I will go as far as to say that the Padres-Dodgers series was the best series in the playoffs. If you disagree, that's fine. Maybe I don't know too much about the AL series, but as far as the NL goes, it was the best. The Dodgers players kept saying how the Padres were the best team they played in the playoffs. Petco was the best atmosphere they played in the playoffs, aside from maybe LA, in their opinions. But that was maybe the most heartbreaking way to end the season. In a fashion where Darvish goes out there, throws, I believe it was 6 2/3, if not 7, allows 2 runs, and it was just home runs. They were solo shots. They didn't do much damage. Kept Ohtani quiet, kept the rest of the guys quiet outside of the guys who hit the home runs, kept you in the game. Maybe a top 5 Darvish performance I've ever seen out of him in a Padres uniform. It was fantastic, and even going back to Game 2 when he did it in Game 2, fantastic. It was beautiful. And we wasted it. I'll never forget the Manny warning track shots. 2 of them would have tied the game. I want to say there was a situation where we left Fernando at second once or twice. There's a lot of things that went wrong in that. Not a lot of things that went wrong in that game, but the one thing, obviously, you guys all know, the one thing that went wrong was you didn't put up any runs, and that dated back to the 4th, 5th inning of Game 3. They didn't put up runs for over 20 innings. I want to say it was 23, 24 innings. I can't remember off the top of my head. And, Game 4 in San Diego, I thought that was going to be the game. I thought that was one where Dylan Cease was going to keep him in the game, and the Padres were going to start putting up a lot of runs and, at least go toe-to-toe. But I was at that game, and it's funny because your dream as a child can quickly end up becoming your nightmare as an adult. My dream as a child had been to go to a Padres postseason game, and it couldn't have lined up any better, man. It couldn't have lined up any better. It was against the Dodgers, our main rivals. It was an elimination game for the Dodgers. It was a game where I could have seen the Padres clinch. It all felt so surreal, and it all felt so nice and so energetic and so fun before the game started. That was the most packed I've ever seen Petco. That was a moment where you say, how can you not fall in love with baseball? How can you not be romantic about baseball? Because it was beautiful. It was something that I had always envisioned. And it all went to shit. Pretty fast too, man. Pretty fast. It was not a competitive game. And I was just sitting there just waiting for something to happen, and it never happened. And the Padres never showed any fight. And so I left very sad. Having to go to work the next day, and not only having to go to work the next day, but taking a whole day off before having to wait for Game 5. And if you guys saw the tweets, I'm probably talking a lot, but I haven't talked in 6 weeks about this. If you guys saw the tweets on Friday morning and Friday afternoon before the game, I tweeted out, I'm going to fucking puke. And that is genuinely how I felt all day sitting at my desk at work. I thought I was going to fucking puke. I felt horrible. I was so nervous, but that's what you live for, man. Those are the sports moments that you live for, and it didn't go our way. I didn't watch too much the postseason after that. I wasn't going to hate watch the Dodgers because I couldn't be mad. They beat us fair and square. We took them to 5 games, and unfortunately it wasn't enough. One of the biggest choke jobs I've seen from a sport, and I'm a Charger fan. I've seen some choke jobs, man. But that was one of the biggest choke jobs I've seen out of a team in the playoffs in my life. They had them on the rope. They had them against the ropes. All they had to do was put up 3 runs in an elimination game. You would think a lineup with Fernando Tatis, Manny Machado, Xander Bogaerts, Arise, Peralta was hot. Solano maybe wasn't so hot, but a lineup that had consistently put up 3 runs and averaged 4 or 5 runs throughout the season. I think I would have put my money on the Padres putting up 3 plus runs 10 times out of 10. And that's baseball, man. It didn't work out their way. That's pretty much all I have to talk about in terms of the end of the season. It fucking sucked because you just knew that if the Padres won that series, they were going to go whoop. They were going to go whoop the Mets' ass, and the Yankees proved to be no competition. So, damn, man, it's sad even talking about it now.
Dude, yeah. And I also say, I mean, you talk about being a Chargers fan. Bro, I'm a Niners fan, and you look at the situation that we're in now, so it makes it even worse. Like even a couple months later talking about it, because it's like, oh great, everything's it looks bad. I will say this though, and like I don't like, and you said this too, like it's like you weren't even like, it wasn't like it was like, oh, like something happens. Like no, the Dodgers they won the series. It was a good series. Went to 5 games. It's consistently been one of the better series. In baseball for the past 5+ years, or whenever they kind of both teams start. Well, whenever the Padres were actually starting to become like good, But I feel like you brought up that there was like a big time choke job. I don't even know if I'd say it's like a choke job, just because of like I've seen some muff punts, you've seen some missed field goals. In baseball, you see a bad air, a brutal air. Shout out Aaron Judge starting that whole thing with the Yankees. Like that's a choke job to, you know what I mean? Like, and the other thing I think is fair to bring up, and I feel like maybe Dodger fans are watching this too, because it's like, oh yeah, like we got to clown these guys. Dude, the Dodgers won because their bullpen was insane.
Oh.
And I think something that we've talked about a lot, the Padres were winning and were a very good team. Why? Because their bullpen was insane.
Yep.
Time and time again, it comes down to who has the best bullpen, who has the guys that are balling out. And like this year was another year where you saw that. Like the Dodgers bullpen was insane. Yes. The 2 years the Padres have made runs, their bullpens have been insane. So it's just like, I feel like that just is such a huge element of postseason baseball. And once again, we saw it, we saw it on display. But I mean, overall, it was brutal, man. It was a rough loss. Just the fact, and I think that's the part where it is like a choke, where it's like, okay, you didn't score for 24 straight innings. That's more of what it is. Like you didn't put up any runs. This offense was so good, and I saw a lot of people talking about this, where it's like, yeah, like, and this is my take on it. Yeah, this lineup, they were just susceptible to that. Like they went into too many slumps, guys. I'm sorry, but that's a ridiculous excuse in my opinion, bro. What do you mean they go into slumps? This is baseball. Like, of course, there's the ebbs and flows, the ups and downs. Like, who watch a season, man? Like, you see that in a week. You see that in a couple weeks. So you watch a month of baseball, it's like, oh, yeah, you suck for 3 games. You're, like, really, really bad. And then you super hot. And it's, like, all hot and cold. I don't really think it's, like, the team was built like that. The team was a really good team. And we can get into, the future of this stuff in a second here. I will say, people, I mean, not a lot of people are on right now. Obviously, we usually have a good amount of y'all in here. You do, like, we're still going to keep doing like live streams and stuff. I mean, that's like our favorite thing to do, especially talking Padres baseball. So if you're listening, you missed the stream, you're watching it on recording or whatever, podcast, just go to YouTube and you can like hit the notification thing if you wanted to watch live, which I think is fun because I'm going to go over some of the questions that we got in here in a second here. But I mean, yeah, I think, other kind of stuff to talk about. I see people are talking about, kind of playing the blame game to an extent over here, which I do think we should talk about. Some guys that it's like, okay, who stepped up? I'll tell you, one dude who stepped up was Fernando, and that was awesome. Like and even like when they were slumping, like Fernando still had a couple big hits. It was like, Manny, dude, you brought up the 2 Manny warning track shots. I was gonna bring that up too, because those were. I thought the first one was out. Like, I was pretty sure the first one was out. And that's the thing where it's like, dude, it's like the difference of like barely missing. Also, aren't those both out of the park in Petco? They are, right? Those are gone at Petco. No, that one, no, those are gone at Petco. Because that wall is a lot shorter, I feel like. Yeah, so first couple things. All right. See people asking about what went wrong. I think we've talked about that quite a bit. We'll talk about Snell in a second, and maybe not in a second. We'll talk about Snell later, maybe. I don't really want to talk about that much. This one, blame it on Dylan Cease. He cost us the postseason. Dude, we were talking about, so we were just kind of texting this week about like, okay, like, what to do. What does offseason look like? Blah, 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 blah. Dude, Dylan Cease is now a guy that I don't know what it is. Like sometimes like you watch a guy in like big moments or whatever. I don't have any faith in Dylan Cease in big moments. And I hate to say that, like he could easily come back next year and be like, oh yeah, look, he's fine in big moments. It was just a rough patch. But like you look at his career postseason games, like you look at some of his big games against top lineups, it's not good. And that was the thing I remember a lot of people brought up when he got traded to the Padres, which like, was kind of a merchant of being in what was the AL Central, right? Like there's not good teams there, bad offenses. And that was rough, man. Like when he's on, he's really good and stuff. When he's off, it's like, oh God. Same thing with looking at Joe Musgrove's injury, right? Like there's so many things like that where you can look on. I see people talking about Jake Cronenworth. Cronenworth was not around at all in the postseason. I also think a lot of people are like, we got to get rid of Cronenworth. We got to move on from him. I mean, as much as people want to act like it was bad to sign him and stuff, like he doesn't really make that much money. Like start looking at these deals now. Like he's going to be worth it pretty much every season to be like a bottom of the lineup kind of guy. He's also a lefty. He can play a lot of positions. I don't really think it's like their best interest to move on from Cronenworth. They're going to have trouble replacing him like from a versatility standpoint. And then also I see this one right here. I think this is an interesting question. I want to see what you think too. Do you guys feel the Padres are a little too cocky? I don't know, man. I think that's the MO of baseball. Like you got to be like that. You have to have that like that aspect of just like the swagger, right?
Yeah. No, I mean, dude, like, there's three things I wanted to touch on that you talked about. First things first, that is not. I don't know. I saw some people saying this too, that the lineup was built for slumps. No, it wasn't. That's far from the truth. That was one of the best hitting teams when it comes to batting average. Keep in mind, I'm not a big batting average guy, but batting average, typically, if you're a team that's in the top in batting average, you're going to put up at least 2 runs a game. So, sorry, that's not an excuse for a team that changed their whole philosophy away from the standard of what the game is right now, which is to hit home runs and get your runs that way. The Padres changed their philosophy to what they call Petco Park hitting. And that doesn't just apply to Petco Park. They took that everywhere they went. So Petco Park hitting is where they just hit for average, find the gaps, play some small ball, and score some runs that way. It worked for them throughout the season. So no, I don't think it's an excuse. I don't think that lineup was built for any ebbs and flows. I would say it's quite the opposite. That lineup was built for consistency, and they just didn't perform when it mattered most. It was the 2 worst games to not perform, but that's how baseball works, man. Another point, Dylan Cease. Fuck. Oh man. It's a really, really tough player to evaluate. Started off the season hot, fantastic. Barely allowed any hits to righties, struggled a little bit with lefties, but was by far one of the best pitchers in baseball throughout the first month or two. Then goes on a little bit of a struggle throughout the next month, then throws a no-hitter, then struggles a little bit again, then does good again. I mean, it's like there are definitely ebbs and flows in the season of Dylan Cease, and that's to be expected. That's what we expected coming from the White Sox when we traded for him. Nonetheless, I mean, he has ace stuff. He was a great pitcher throughout the season. But man, those postseason starts, they will forever haunt us, not only us Padre fans, but I think those are going to haunt him, man. If he doesn't give up that 3-run bomb to Shohei Ohtani after Manny hit a 3-run bomb, you're talking about a sweep. If he doesn't choke in game 4 and give up all those, runs, you might be looking at a team that's in the game, and it's a complete mind shift. Baseball's a mental game, man, and when your starter's going out there and allowing as many runs as he did throughout the first 2 or 3 innings of game 4, I mean, you definitely feel deflated. I want to give him a chance, man, I really do, but something that has been floating around, as far as Padres rumors go, is that he might be on the trade block. I've seen that being floated around. We've even talked about it a little bit amongst ourselves, like, the Padres might need to free up some cash, and one of the ways to do it would be moving on from Dylan Cease or moving on from Luis Ariz. So the thing I see with Dylan Cease is, if that were to happen, I don't think it will happen, but let's say that were to happen. What I think would happen is the Padres would acquire the prospect capital that it took, or some prospects, for Dylan Cease, and use those prospects to trade for either a pitcher of equal talent or lesser talent with the prospects that they got. A cheaper guy, because Dylan Cease is going to make what, 14?
And also with that, and I see this right here, with what you're saying, multiple 1-year deals left for this team now. That's where it's an interesting spot where you're talking about like the Padres could very well just practically run back the same team, minus Ha-Seong Kim, Jurickson Profar. Also, Kim wasn't there. Musgrove got hurt, right? Like you know what I mean? But it's like almost the exact same roster potentially. But Cease is a guy where it's like you could make that trade, like you're saying, to kind of like swap or whatever. And then also say you get a guy of maybe lesser talent, more years, more stability. Because they are in a spot where you start looking up, like, oh, it's a little scary. You might start really banking on Joe Musgrove to come back healthy, not this year even, but the year after, where it's like you're talking about the future. And was it you or Chase that sent a thing today where Mike Joe was talking about like, yeah, AJ Preller's got a bunch of stuff up his sleeve.
Bro. He's got moves. Yeah, he's got moves up his sleeve.
So I think that's an interesting one. And maybe let's just start talking about like, really whatever with this team. But we can talk about the postseason. We can talk about last year as it goes on. But kind of just go back and forth, just kind of going over everything. Because I feel like there's, like I said, there's so much we haven't covered in the last while.
Yeah.
I think Cease is a big topic. Maybe we can talk about Profar Kim, impending guys leaving. Also, anything you guys want us to talk about, make sure you send it in here. Like, I'm definitely cool to see that. I'd see. Devin mentioned that she'll got an extension. That's massive. Yeah. That's super massive. That we're not just gonna walk by that and be like, oh yeah, whatever. No, that's a huge deal. Like you talk about having, a like stability and having maybe the best pitching coach in the entire league, and like you hear about how guys talk about him. That's a huge deal, especially when we're talking right now about, hey, we might only have Dylan Cease, Michael King for one more year for each of those guys and have like no starters. Well, that's the guy you want to develop your other guys. That's where a Randy Vasquez taking the next step, you have a lot more faith in that, seeing that Ruben Niebla is there. So I think that's a big deal. But I don't know, what's the biggest things like you're kind of thinking of right now? I know we were texting about stuff earlier. There's so many little things, but I feel like there's like just the overall like, and that's why the thumbnail is like the state of the Padres, and the title of the videos or the live is what's next for the San Diego Padres, because it's like there's so many unknowns right now. I think right now, just logistically, holes, and let's just go over like I'll go over real quick and then I'll go to you. But right now, you got 3 starters that you can lock in, that you can pencil in before any moves are made. 3 starters. Okay. You got about $38 million to spend. Kyle Higashioka signed today. You see that? Signed with the Rangers.
Yep.
So he's gone. So you only got Campy behind the plate right now, right? Campy got sent down at the end of the season. So potentially need a catcher.
Yep.
You potentially need a first baseman with Kim leaving, because that moves everyone over, or a second baseman, whatever that is. You need an infielder and you need an outfielder. You're sitting at 3 spots. And I'm saying Arise as a DH, not a first baseman, because he should be. But that's 3 spots, and that's 2 starting pitchers, and your bullpen's still pretty good. You're not missing that much. And like I said, like they could virtually run it back, but the problem is a year after this, you're going to have so many guys potentially leaving in Arise, and what about reliever? I don't know who else reliever. I mean, Suarez will be. I think the bullpen's pretty decent. I think Jason Adam would be here for 2 more years, I want to say. But then you'd have 1 starter on the books, or 2 starters, including Joe Musgrove. But you have you and Musgrove, so it gets a little sus. And then like other guys that are going to be competing this year and whatnot. But I mean, I don't know. What are you thinking right now? What do you feel like? What do you feel like the state of the Padres is right now?
Shoot, they're not that far off, man. I mean, infielder, catcher, outfielder. That's pretty much what you're missing. Sure, there's going to be some depth pieces. You can find your Solanos. You can find your Peraltas again. That'll be the main goal, is just finding cheap guys that can produce, and it'll be easier said than done. Nonetheless, it has to be done. You have to find guys that can produce at a replacement level. Just at replacement level. That's going to be one of the biggest goals, is just finding guys that can produce like that. You're not missing much. Running it back with Profar and Kim and all that. Maybe Profar, just because I don't think he's going to get as much or a lot of money. I mean, he's off his best season in his 11-year career. I still don't think he's making over $7 million. I think he's making $5 million. With us, maybe he'll make 6 or 7. But anywhere else, I don't think he's going to make much more than that. I don't think there's going to be another team like the Rockies that'll give him $7 million. So um, I don't know. I do think Profar will be back. Even then, you might still need another outfielder because your outfield depth is currently like Bryce Johnson, Tirso Ornelas. I mean, Tirso might be his time to shine because he's been down there for a while, and it might be time for him to get some looks. But if he doesn't come through, then you're gonna be in a glaring need of a backup outfielder because Fernando didn't play a full season last year. You just got to be prepared for injuries. So as far as infielder goes, man, that's a tough one. I don't think Ha-Seong Kim is going to be back. I think it's a guarantee he's going to be gone. I've been seeing a lot of HSK and Giants. I don't know if you've been seeing the same thing. I've been seeing a ton of HSK and Giants, and to me, yeah, it makes a lot of sense. But that's what I've been seeing a lot of. I just don't see him coming back in a Padres uniform, especially considering the money that he might make. I don't know if the value is really there. So that might be out the window. Now, we haven't really, keep in mind, this is our first live in forever. Give us some slack. We haven't really looked into the shortstop market or the second base market, first base, whatever it is, wherever we're going to slide everyone. Because, yeah, you can have Xander play shortstop for 1 year and then just have him be the stopgap for DeVries to come up and play shortstop. You can do that. But, again, your window's now. You want to put out the best roster that you possibly can, put guys in the best position to succeed. We talked about this time again. Darvish, Machado, Tatis, Bogarts, Cronenworth, all these guys that are locked into massive contracts or bigger contracts are not getting any younger. You can't waste a single year of the window that you have with them. So with that being said, do you really want to put Xander at shortstop? The answer for me would 100% absolutely be no. However, you might have no choice. So, we'll look at the shortstop market here soon and see who might be a fit for the Padres. But I will tell you what, I don't think the best fit for the San Diego Padres at shortstop next year is Xander Bogaerts. I do not think that's illogical or reasonable, or maybe not reasonable, but a smart decision to make. So, the lineup, it's going to be fine, man. You got guys up and down the lineup that can produce, but it's going to be rough, bro. Really, are you thinking, hey, maybe DeVries can come up a little sooner, maybe Salas can come up a little sooner? There's questions that are going to be asked about these superstar prospects because, hey, we might need them sooner than we think. There's another thing you talked about that I did want to talk about. I will say one thing. I know there's probably a lot of people, baseball fans, thinking about this because actually that does remind me, Blake Snell. So the topic around baseball right now is deferred money. And I can see the frustration, 100%. I completely understand. However, the flaw does not stand with the Dodgers. The flaw stands with the Players Association and the MLB. That is where things need to be fixed. A loophole or I don't know what else you want to call it, but I can't be mad at the Dodgers for it. They are committing a lot of money to these guys, and rightfully so. They're guys that I want to commit a lot of money to also. Now, I will say, never in my wildest dreams did I imagine Blake Snell having $36 million AAV. Even off his Cy Young year, I did not think that was smart or possible. However, when you have the funds that the Dodgers have, you can do whatever you want, apparently. So, when in time, Ohtani's deal will pay itself, Edman's deal. I'm sure Ohtani's deal is going to pay for the whole team, but in due time. But I can't be mad at the Dodgers for exploiting something that should have already been fixed.
Yeah. And also with that, people always talk about salary cap and salary floor. We've been talking about that the whole time the channel's been going. And guess what, guys? Guess what, Padres fans? We're not even the ones that's like hurting that bad, dude. Like, look at the Rockies, bro. Look at the A's, the Rays, like teams that just do not spend money, don't try to, and don't don't care about winning. That's the issue with it. Not even like obviously like that's like the top end, like the Dodgers and the Yankees spend a bunch of money. Well, the Padres have been spending a lot of money too. Obviously it's a lot different now, but like to look at it, like the situation of it, I feel like it is like, I don't know. It's tough. Like that's the obvious answer. Guess what? That's never going to happen. There's never going to be a salary floor because the owners have to vote on that and decide that. And they're not going to do that. It's just unrealistic. With the deferred money, I mean, I was talking about it. So my roommate, I think I've said this before, he's a Dodger fan, right? Like same thing. We all, I feel like most people in Southern California, it's like, yeah, you're surrounded by each other. But the thing that's interesting is we were talking about it, and I was like, yeah, it's just like you're just building a super team. Like, obviously, everyone knows that, right? That's not like a surprise. Like, oh, yeah, it's a super team. We're talking about the Yankees when they signed A-Rod because that's a pretty similar thing.
It's a very similar thing.
Remember real quick. Remember what happened to the Yankees after they signed A-Rod? Just want to say they got bounced by the Red Sox that year, right? So, and they only won one World Series after they did that. Everyone's like, it's a lock. They're gonna win everything, and that's kind of the beauty of sports.
Funny story. I don't know. You probably know this. A-Rod was supposed to go to the Red Sox. Yeah, there was a trade in place to trade Omar Garcia-Parra, and I believe it was Manny Ramirez. And A-Rod was supposed to be a Red Sox. Something happened in the contract where Players Association didn't approve. Aaron Boone got injured for the year, and that opened the doors. So it was a horrible, horrible start to the season for the Red Sox.
Yeah. No, exactly, dude. And that was like, that's why that season that was just like, also there's like a documentary on it. I feel like a lot of people probably watched it, but it's like crazy, dude. Like all the rivalry. Also, didn't they get walked off on in like Game 7 of the ALCS the year before from the Yankees, right? So it's like so brutal. But it's like we were talking about it, and like with the deferral of everything, and it's like, okay, like the Dodgers are doing all this stuff. And the reality of it is that Ohtani is such a big player that he makes so much money for any team that he's a part of. So they're gonna reap the benefits of him, right? But from a league-wide standpoint, it's like, yeah, like, okay, they're doing all this stuff, they're backling all these contracts. Yeah, they're gonna have a little bit of a little dynasty run, like we were talking about it. And this is what my buddy was saying, like, they're gonna have a little bit of a dynasty run. He's like, but that's like any team with a star player. Like you stack it super heavy, and then you're going to have to also pay off that stuff when he's gone. And that's not in the near future or anything. But it was just an interesting conversation of like, yeah, of course that's how it's going to be. That's what would have happened when they signed Ohtani. The interesting thing is they signed Tommy Edman and Blake Snell, and like, yeah, the rotation stacked and everything, but it's like, even though the Yankees were in this spot, and the Yankees didn't have an Ohtani, obviously, but they had a super team. They went and they got Alex Rodriguez.
That was the best player in baseball at the time.
Yeah. Like, so I think that it's like, if you're always living in the moment of like, oh my God, like this is crazy and stuff, like you still gotta play it out. It's still gonna be fun to watch. It's still gonna be all that. Now they signed Soto. Scratch everything I said, all right? That's the one thing I'll say there, because that's like even crazier because they're still gonna get other dudes. But I do think it's very interesting, and like you gotta just give them the success. You know, Dodgers have been good, so it is what it is. I do think, I don't know what you were talking about, some other stuff before. Going back to the Padres, because you brought up the deferred money. It's such a big topic right now in baseball, you know.
It's shortstop.
Oh yeah. I was gonna say, well, is the Kim that's coming up from the Korean League? Is that Ha-Seong Kim's little brother now?
Oh yeah, it is. It's
his little brother, right?
Yeah.
Dude, swap him out, bro. Cheaper version. Because he's a lefty, and he hits like over 300 in the KBO.
He's better than, I'm pretty sure he's supposed to be better.
That's what I think too. And he's gonna be cheaper.
We do have to talk about a must-have, and guys, you'll understand the reasons, other than the fact that he's a fucking stud. Must-have pitcher. You guys know it's Roki Sasaki. And look, aside from the fact that he's going to be a superstar, the Padres are in a position where we don't know if they want to go above luxury tax. Matt, you said it was like 38 million before we hit luxury tax bracket 1. If you get Roki Sasaki, you get an affordable pitcher for years to come. And you guys may be confused why that may be. He's under 25. It's not like Yamamoto. Yamamoto got his money straight up, 10 years, 300 million, whatever it was. Roki Sasaki would get posted and make around league minimum for the first, I don't know how many years. That is why he's a must-have for the Padres. For any team, of course, not just the Padres. But that's why he's a must-have, is because if you're looking at a team that only has 3 pitchers and could use an ace, you're looking at the Padres right away. So Ohtani's a must-have, man. Or, I'm sorry, not Ohtani. Sasaki's a must-have, man. Sasaki's a must-have in a way that I don't think a player has been as must-have for the Padres.
Dude, and he's also, we've been talking about him for like 3 years plus.
A long time.
Like, I think it was when he was 19 is when we started talking about it, 18 or 19, and he's like 23 now, I think, when he's coming into the league. Maybe like that's like when next year starts, but we've been talking about him since he was, I think it was 19 when he kind of like got put on the map. Also, with Roki Sasaki, he was at Game 4 of the Padres-Dodgers game. I don't know if everyone knows that. I think most people do.
Yep.
As was Isaac.
No, I don't want to talk about it,
bro. But Roki is going to like, he's basically like set into a contract. Like it's not like it's going to be like a team can just like throw him way more money. It's like maybe they can throw him like a little bit. I think there's like a small fluctuation different teams can have, but it's pretty similar. Roki Sasaki is also incredibly close with Yu Darvish, which we've talked about it in the past. Like, okay, like, and maybe a guy hasn't really came over like cause Yu Darvish, right? It doesn't, dude. If he comes over for Yu Darvish, it doesn't matter who else went where. This is the guy. Like, this is the guy you're going after. So if Darvish is able to kind of be like, all right, like we got Sasaki, whatever. We were talking about it. Like, as far as the offseason goes, and like this is the thing, like you win or lose an offseason, right? Like, and obviously, yeah, it has like an impact on the field, but like win or lose in the offseason, it's the same thing as like win or losing the draft. Like, it doesn't really matter at the end of the day. It's like how guys develop, guys get hurt, guys have to play up in big moments. But as far as like winning the offseason goes, like, because the Padres could do things and they could still be a very good team if it doesn't happen. But the offseason itself it's Roki Sasaki or bust. Like, if you're gonna come out and say we've drastically improved this team, the only realistic way the Padres can do that is to go get Roki Sasaki, or like AJ Preller goes like crazy on some trades, which I mean, I guess that is realistic. I will also say, as we've been big AJ Preller haters, I feel a lot more confident in AJ. Not that it's not, but because when AJ doesn't have the like ability to go and just like rip massive contracts, and they're like, AJ, you only have $10 million to spend.
Yeah, he works with.
That's
it.
when the good stuff has happened. That is when the good stuff has happened. So I will say that makes me a lot more like hopeful and like excited at AJ Preller, because like, and we've given AJ Preller credit like where it's due, I think too. I don't think we've just been like that. It's more of like they haven't before last, like they have 2 playoff runs. Like that is the thing, So it's like there is criticism for sure, but the last year's team was really good. And the year before, as much as being like it was incomplete, like they put some stars on the field, so it's like it's kind of tough when that's the case. And they built a good rotation, and it's like only so much is in his control. But I really do think this offseason is Roki or bust. There's a lot of other guys that you can go after and like do stuff, but the real issue is that we just saw Matthew Boyd get 2 years, $32 million, right? That was the contract.
Jesus Christ,
that's insane. And also, I was never a person that was like Darvish or Musgrove's deals were bad. Not a single person can say that now.
Nope.
Like, and yeah, Musgrove got hurt. All right, dude. Other guys are gonna get hurt too. Darvish's deal is a steal, is an absolute steal. I never understood that because I was like, dude, look at the contract. It's really good. Even if it hurt the last couple years, it's still really good. It's still worth it.
Yep.
But it is really interesting. So I don't know. I think that Roki Sasaki is definitely the biggest guy to go after.
He's the crown jewel, man. He's the diamond of this whole free agency class, and every team's gonna want him. Every team's gonna have a fair chance because unless he's posted before January, I forgot what date in January, but there's a specific date in January that
15th.
Yes, 15th. If he's posted after that, each team will have $7.5 million of international money to go get Sasaki. It will be up to Roki Sasaki to decide where he wants to play. Now, the pitch to Roki should be, you will be the biggest Japanese star on your own team. You will not be the biggest Japanese star if you go to LA. Not even close. So I think that's the biggest thing. You can either go be the go help the champions, go whatever. You can come to San Diego and help beat the champions. And you're going to make the same amount of money. You will be rewarded in San Diego. You will have a fan base that will sell out all of your home starts. You will have a fan base that will sell out that will probably sell out your jerseys. Everything will be centered around Roki Sasaki if he comes to San Diego. He would have a chance to be a bigger star in San Diego than, hey, it's bold. He will have a chance to be just as big, if not bigger, than Fernando Tatis Jr.
Yeah, dude. Baseball has become such an international game that that's a huge deal.
Yeah.
It is.
It's bold, but if you're taking a guy that might win a Cy Young at 23, 24 years old, is it really that bold?
Obviously, right now, these guys are in their primes, but Yu Darvish is a bigger star than Manny and Tatis. He is.
Yeah,
Totally, you know what I mean? And he was super hyped up, you know what I mean? You look at his followings on social media and stuff is a lot more than almost all the other players. He's probably a bigger star than Juan Soto too. If you're actually just looking at people that know him and stuff.
Exactly.
Also, he's played in the league longer, so that has an impact as well. But it's interesting too, and you look at this, we're gonna talk about where the team's gonna be at, but it's you look at what they needed. It really just comes down to pitching. I do want to list you off some of the names, bro. There's a lot of names that are available. I don't know have you really looked at the starting pitcher market?
I know I know Max Fried's available.
Yeah.
I don't know anyone else.
So Corbin Burns, Max Fried, Nathan Eovaldi, Jack Flaherty, Kyle Gibson, Justin Verlander. Who else we got? I'll give you the big names. Shane Bieber. He's coming back midseason though. Clayton Kershaw, Max Scherzer. Those are insane names.
That's crazy names.
That's really nuts.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say Kyle Gibson. I think I said him.
Dude, that's pretty crazy.
Sean Manaea, he was good last year, even though I don't want Sean Manaea. But there are also a lot of names. It's just more that the market is so insane. Matthew Boyd just got $16 million for 2 years. What did he do last year? Let's see. And also, I will say, shout out Chase, because Chase wanted us to sign Matthew Boyd so bad last year. You remember that, right?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure he had a solid season.
Yeah, he pitched. He had a 2.7 ERA in 39 innings. That's good, but he barely pitched,
Yeah, that's.
And he's been banged up and stuff. His issue is he doesn't really pitch that much. That's the problem. It's you're not you're paying a lot of money for a guy that doesn't pitch that much.
Mm-hmm.
But it's interesting. I was also thinking about I don't know, first base or whatever. You could go and try to get a slugger, and people don't want to say, but they could go and try to do this stuff because if they're staying under the luxury tax, if that's the number, they still have a lot of money to spend. They don't have that many holes.
No.
They really don't. They could go get a big arm or a big name or whatever. You bring back Solano, right? Paul Goldschmidt, that'd be an interesting name. I don't know what he's expected to get, but Paul Goldschmidt's pretty old now.
Yeah, he's been trapped.
I want to see what he's expected to get, dude. I'm very intrigued. Not even that's someone that you would go actually and so they say he's expected to get 1 year, $12 million on Spot Track. That would be very intriguing. I mean, like obviously, I don't expect AJ to do this. This isn't really his like forte of like going
Yeah,
and getting a guy like that. Like they never really do that, like getting an aging player. But it's just interesting to when you start like kind of looking at it, you know.
they do
Um,
it. They do it if there's value to be had. I mean, Matt Carpenter is going to haunt our dreams forever, but
yeah,
I mean, Nelson Cruz was an aging player. $1 million. Peralta, same thing. Solano, same thing. So it's not out of his realm. It's just maybe a year and 12 million for the production that Goldschmidt put up last year is a little much.
yeah. Well, it's also interesting too because like I'm looking on this like list of like these guys, and it's like Jerkson Profar, really important player for the Padres. Like he's probably not gonna make that much, right? Tommy Pham's been on like teams like this. I'm not saying like to go get him at all. That's not like my point. Like Jesse Winker, really big for the Mets. Like it is just interesting, like seeing some of the names. You're like, okay, these guys don't even make that much, but they're like they were still
Okay.
impact players last year, you know. So it is really interesting, and that's why I feel like he usually goes after like specific guys that he likes, you know. Um, shoot, and then all that's gonna happen and land Juan Soto. Um, big outfield names would be like Anthony Santander, Teoscar, maybe Max Kepler. I feel like he's not quite on the same level, but like Santander's and Teoscar are obviously great players. Like, so there are some other guys. There's also going to be guys that are traded. Like, and that's the thing with baseball where it's so hard to tell. Like right now, especially before like winter meetings are starting to pick up, it's like, dude, there's so much stuff.
Oh yeah, dude,
It's going to be cool.
It's gonna be a cool, crazy winter meetings. And if I had to choose the route that I think the Padres should go, it would be get Sasaki, trade first a starting pitcher or two, get a cheap starting pitcher. I'm trying to get 7 or 8 starting pitchers, just off the top of my head.
Also, with that, so we were talking today, dude, with the starting pitchers. So we were just kind of like brainstorming in our group chat about stuff. We're talking about like guys that would compete. Like, because right now you got 3 guys, you
Yeah.
know? What? Let me find the list I sent you guys because I thought it was interesting. And I want to see like how many of these guys, like you're talking about having like 7 or 8, how many of these guys would you include? Because I think it's super fair to include a lot of them. Where is it? Where is it? I think one was we said Lizarraga, Henry Baez, Vasquez, Brito, and Waldron. So those are like 5 guys that we brought up.
Right.
Obviously, you're not none of these guys. Like, I mean, Lizarraga is actually he's very intriguing. Sorry, what were you gonna say?
I said they're not impact arms, but they're arms that you can say, hey, if someone goes down, we can rely on these guys to give us some spot starts or give us some innings.
And that's why it's interesting. Like with the like you still have to add arms, but like they do have some depth this year.
Yeah,
absolutely. And like younger depth, like Baez and Lizarraga, like they've like been good in the minors. Like their time is actually getting pretty close at this point. Where like they used to just be like, oh yeah, these guys teenagers, they're intriguing, blah 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 blah. Like no, they're actually getting up there. Like they're getting ready to be out there, to be thrown out there. But also like you do see it sometimes. Who was it last year that got called up? Not Jackson Wolf, that was the year before. Who was it this year that got called up and pitched a few games? I don't know why I'm blanking on his name.
Oh, it's God, what was his name?
They traded him.
Yeah, I know who you're talking about. What was his name?
He was a reliever, right?
He made his debut against the Angels. Someone help us out, please. I'm begging you.
Yeah, dude. This is a problem, bro. We haven't been thinking about this, and it's like I'm also like bad.
Adam Mazer.
Yeah, exactly. And that's that, dude. Exactly. And that was the guy we had talked about. Like he got drafted, and it was like, okay, they're going after a college arm. They're getting a college arm. That's what we want to see. But also, when that happens, it's not always pretty, bro. And that was a prime example of like, man, that's rough. And dude, for Adam Mazer, like he could end up having a decent career, but it's like it's just too early on, you know. Also, I will say I felt like his fastball did not play at all, so that has to change up a lot. That's the part where it's tough, like where it's like
he sucked.
He was bad, yeah. Like I mean, he was definitely bad. So it's like I don't know. That's the thing that's hard. Where you're like, oh yeah, maybe this guy, like they might come up and just like not be able to hang. The other thing we're talking about was for left field, like internal options, and just like as we were kind of thinking, like, okay, where are we at, right? I think a potential interesting thing would be to put Tirso Ornelas, who has been Padres organization for quite some time. He's put up good numbers in AAA and AA over the last 2 years. It's like his time where he's going to be 25 next, I think, when the season starts, 24, 25, where it's like, okay, well, this is the year. He has to make the camp. Maybe that's as the fourth outfielder. Well, maybe you started off like last year. Because if you remember how last year started, I don't know, Isaac, one of the biggest things we talked about in spring training was, man, this Padres outfield looks bad. And it was like, and as spring training went along, Jackson Merrill was like, okay, he's proving himself that he's ready. Okay, well, he was still a 20-year-old rookie at the time. So like you're gonna question it. Like that's really crazy. He didn't have that great of numbers in AA the year before. And it's like, all right. Oh, and Jurickson Profar coming off, I think he was statistically the worst. I think he was the worst player statistically in baseball the year before, like dead last in a couple categories and like value metrics. And it was like, yeah, but we've seen him, like he could bounce back. And we talked about it, like, well, dude, maybe like Merrill's that dude, which he was. And Profar is, the good Profar is on the Padres, which guess what? He was a lot better than he'd ever been before. Yeah. So it's like, that's what's interesting is like you bring a guy up like that and he might be good, and that's why also spring training kind of gives you so many like ideas, not really for us, but like the coaching staff, like Preller, all these guys, like they're watching these guys day in and day out. They're going to have a better idea than any fan that's not there because there's so many live sessions that they get to watch and see that we don't see, especially in spring, because it's like you get a handful of at-bats where they know if a guy's ready. And that's what with Merrill is they're like, no, he's ready. Like, it's time. And we definitely like, jumped on the train as spring training went on. Like, okay, yeah, definitely. Sure. He looks good. Like, everyone's hyping up like him like crazy. That makes sense. And then he was a monster. But this year it's like, okay, it's a little bit similar, but they could go that route. They could also bring back Profar, and I think you're right. I think like around $5 million is likely.
Yeah. Yeah. So I mean, there's definitely moves that can be made. I like the trade route over the free agency route when it comes to starting pitching, and I like the free agency route when it comes to bats, man. Not a lot of spots that you got to fill. I think it's a reasonable amount. Whereas last year you were looking and you were scared of the starting pitching. You were kind of scared to see, if Higgy was going to be a worthy backup catcher. You were scared of the two outfield spots. You were scared of the bullpen. There was a lot more question marks last year than there was this year. So I think the Padres are in a good spot, man. A lot of it's going to rely on, are we going to get the same or better from Merrill, same or better from Fernando, same thing with Manny, Xander, Crony. It's guys that have been around for a little while and have those bigger contracts. We need those guys to produce, of course, exceed expectations. But I'm excited, man. I mean, winter meeting's coming up soon. I don't really have anything else to talk about. I'll be free. No. I'll be free more here soon, so that way we can talk some more Padres baseball with you guys. Winter meeting's coming up soon. We'll try and be active for those for sure. We know how hectic things can get for the Padres around that time. So, yeah, man. I mean, hey, we took our hiatus. Still not over it. I'm still not over losing to those. I hate them, man. Still not over losing to the Dodgers. Only whatever other dimension knows if the Padres would have won the World Series had they put up 3 runs in Game 5. Yeah, man. We'll see. But excited for sure. I mean, I'm happy to be back. It was fun.
Yeah, and also I will say, anyone listening, like, I also want to know like what people think, like, especially for like our stuff. Like, obviously, like, we've been doing this for a while now, but I like to see what people like want content wise. Like, what do you guys like want to see? Like what type of video, stuff like that. Because I feel like we can totally like adjust it, and that's the thing that we got to like all like figure out. Obviously Chase isn't here today, but we were kind of like, dude, we need to do it. And so he's like, I'm not here, but you guys should go live or whatever. So I think this year, one thing I want to do is like make a better schedule, even if it's not as much. Because dude, we've talked about in the past, like when it was COVID, when we were in college, we would grow the channel a lot. Like, it was super fun. We would post every single day throughout the season.
We're so good at it.
And there's zero chance that we're going to be able to do that anymore. You know what I mean? Like, there's just too much going on. You start growing up and everything. But it is interesting, like, because I still want to do it. And like, I still want to, like, it's fun. It's fun to talk Padres baseball. It's nice to just hang out here and just, relax and talk about it. But I do want to see like what people want like for the channel, or like literally if you guys have like channel ideas, like I'd love to just hear like, oh, you guys should do these kind of videos, whatever kind of videos. Like I don't know, I think that'd be cool. So I want to know what people think for it. I think internally for us, we can figure out a schedule where we can just be like, okay, we'll do this, this, and this, and this is what we can do, and we can stick with this. And also, I mean, you guys know this, but like when it gets like rumors are on, like we always like to do that.
Yeah, we're on them.
We always like to be on that stuff, but like with the normal stuff. I also think that as we've been doing this longer, the very mundane, like this news happened, let's make a 30, 15 to 30-minute video about it where it's like, I'm sorry, but that doesn't really matter that much. Like I am to the point where it's like, I'd rather go like on a stream, like this, where it's like, oh, random question. And like, here's one right here for you. Padres trading for Vladdy. Like, I'd rather talk about fun stuff, or like our guys that are like playing well and like stuff that's actively going on than like super just like boom, 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 boom. This is the headline and just following random headlines. But I don't know. I would like to see, and if you guys want to comment that like after the video or whatever, like I will let you guys like, I don't know. I will take that into consideration. Also I have some funny comments over here, but I think that like, I don't know. It's something I'm excited to see, especially going into this year and stuff. And I don't know, dude, even though the Padres are in a spot where it's like, oh, they don't have that much money, they're running back the same team. Bro, I know Preller's going to be pulling some crazy stuff. That is something, whether you think Preller's a good GM or not, it's entertainment at its finest in sports right there, all the offseason stuff.
We're not going to watch the fucking Dodgers win a World Series and just do nothing about it. Fuck that. I would be so mad.
Exactly. That's definitely gonna be Preller's mindset too, going into it.
Hell no. Also, Jay, I like your idea, but I'm pretty sure that Shohei in a Padres jersey. I think I'm pretty sure the ship has sailed, bro. No, but
you gotta swap it up.
Yeah,
put the Sasaki on there, bro.
Let's put the Sasaki on there, bro. Let's switch it up a little bit.
That would be booing Snell at Petco. Wow. We never talked about Snell.
Fuck that guy. I hate him.
I can't believe it, bro.
I mean, him on Instagram as soon as I saw it. I hate it. I hate it.
It does suck.
Yep.
But also like it's not like, I think Snell's great in big moments and everything. It's like not a good deal. Like objectively, it's not a good deal.
I think a lot of people are definitely blowing things out of proportion. Did you guys watch? I mean, outside of the Cy Young year, did you guys watch April till July of Blake Snell starts? They weren't great.
But that's the thing. It's like they're not signing him for April to June.
They're signing him.
You know what I mean? Like that's the part where it's like, yeah, this dude's on. Also, did you know? Unless Baseball Reference is wrong, this apparently Snell has the
amount, dude.
Wait, what are you gonna say? What are you gonna say? You're gonna say something different to me than I was. What are you gonna say?
The amount of innings pitched compared to the amount of innings pitched of other guys that have made as much money as him.
Oh, really?
The exact stat. It is a drastic difference, dude. Like an insane difference to the point where you're looking, you're saying like, this guy's pitching like 5 innings a game. Keep in mind when we had him. Oh my God, we were blessed if we got 5 innings, bro. We were ecstatic.
He is kind of a crazy pitcher.
What
I was gonna say is, apparently this is what Baseball Reference says, and maybe I read it wrong or something, but the way it looked up, and I was like, I double checked, I was like, that's nuts. For a starting pitcher, it says that he has the highest K through 9 ever. Ever.
Oh, I could see that.
And it's a lot. Let me go to it real quick. I want to, before we hop off, because I saw this and I was like, that is wild.
I could see that.
Because you would think it'd be like, like, I don't know, like Ricky Bobby Johnson from 1890. You know what I mean? Like, the guys with like the fake name. It's like where it's like the Bear Man. It's like, like
1908, John Bradshaw something had a 16K per. Well, think about this though. Yes, Snell would go those 5 innings, right? But in those 5 innings, he's fanning 10 people, bro. That's like an 18K per 9. So I can see that.
So this is what it says. So in his 9 years, his K through 9 is 11.2, and it says gold. Career totals indicate an all-time career record. That's got to be what that means, right?
Yeah, it has to.
But that's wild because, like I'm saying, like you always hear these stats. It's like, oh, yeah, that guy struck out 26 in 4 straight games. You're like, Jesus, man.
Yeah.
Like, there's always the most insane stats from old baseball one. But that's a crazy thing. I mean, the thing with Snell's like, yeah, he's gonna go 130 innings in a good year. But the problem is that they're getting him for the postseason. That's the reason they're getting him. That's what it's all about for them. That's the whole point of signing Snell. Like, he wants him in the postseason.
You got him for those years, man, or for those months, man. I can't blame him.
It would be hilarious if Padres played Dodgers in the playoffs and they rock Snell and Petco. That would be so funny. That'd be awesome.
That would be my kids.
Yeah, but I also I've always liked Snell. We've all liked Snell, and like every year we'd be like, Snell sucks this year. We're like, guys,
we'd be like, no, he doesn't.
He's the easiest player to predict. Also, last year was even more crazy than his averages. He had over a 6 ERA in the first half, then a 1.7 through a no hitter.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it was like, yep, that's exactly what I would expect.
Yep.
But even more exaggerated now. But yeah, I think that'll do it, dude. Long stream, dude. We just hit an hour. I didn't realize that, but yeah, we'll be doing more stuff. I mean, let us know what you guys want, like content wise, style of content, new vids for the off season, stuff like that. Whatever it is, I don't know. Let me know. I want to see. I don't know when we're gonna record next or anything like that, but we'll definitely be doing stuff. Not like people said that the Dodgers made us, that killed our channel or whatever the hell that was.
You can kill the soul. You can kill my dreams, but you can't kill. Wait, I don't know what the saying is, but you can't kill me.
Yeah. All right, guys. I'll talk to y'all soon. But yeah, end of the day, go Padres. It's been a long time since we chatted. Fun time tonight. I know a lot of people watch, after the stream's over and stuff. So, but yeah, thanks for listening, and we'll talk to y'all soon. Peace.